Day in the Supreme Court. A very big development with big national security implications. Viewers, I've been telling you for a while that a dangerous conflict is not just brewing at our borders, but deep within the nation's mindscape. As India confronts the overt threats posed by hostile neighbors China and Pakistan, another front has opened up at home. A war fought not with weapons, but of narratives. Who's saying this, viewers? No less than the Supreme Court. That's right, today the top court called out Ashoka University professor Ali Khan Mehboobabaad for what it termed was a clear act of, quote, dog whistling, unquote. The dog whistling, viewers, is a way of suggestively influencing people without being overt. The court has accused the professor of planting the seeds of polarization under the veil of scholarly independence. The Supreme Court has said, and I quote it, viewers, now, verbatim, yes, everyone has the right to free speech and expression. It is a time to talk about all of this. The country is already going through all this. Monsters came and attacked our people. We have to be united. Why do this? To get cheap popularity on these occasions. It is dog whistling. Very unfortunate for a society with free speech when choice of words is deliberately made to insult, humiliate, and cause discomfort to the other side. We should not have lack of dictionary words to use. He can use language which does not hurt sentiments of others. Use neutral language, unquote. What has got the apex court so wound up to say these things, viewers? It was a post on social media by the professor where he tried to undermine a very calculated attempt by the government to project national unity by projecting two military women officers, a Hindu and Muslim, to brief the press on the progress of Operation Sindhu. Now you remember, viewers, you remember those pictures, those press briefings. The optics were deliberately considered and important because Pakistan needed to be told that it may, on its soil, exalt, praise the two-nation theory to high heavens, to incite Muslims to rise here in India. But there are no takers for it. That Muslims were united in wanting to defeat the scourge that is Pakistan. Yet Professor chose to undermine, viewers. What he was basically suggesting, and I'll read out to you what he wrote. And he refers to the right wing. And he says, but perhaps they, that is the right wing, could also equally loudly demand that the victims of mob lynchings, arbitrary bulldozing, and others who are victims of the BJP's hate-mongering be protected as Indian citizens. The optics of two women soldiers presenting their findings is important. But optics must translate to reality on the ground, otherwise it's just hypocrisy, unquote. Viewers, at a time when all of us needed to speak in one voice, Professor Ali Khan Mehboobabaad, who also happens to be a Samajwadi Party member, yes, a card-carrying member of the Samajwadi Party, was trying, viewers, to play a game. What he was dog-whistling according to the Supreme Court, and I'm only interpreting now what the Supreme Court has said. Viewers, what this gentleman was trying to do was to tell Muslims that, yeah, fine, you are today being projected by the government as the face of unity, but the government is being completely hypocritical. No need to wear the uniform, no need to get all patriotic, because at the end of the day, what are you getting out of it? The government doesn't treat you with respect. The BJP allegedly goes around bulldozing your homes, etc., etc. So why do you need to stand and fight? That's basically what was being said. And the Supreme Court, viewers, has even ordered a SIT clearly because somewhere it is alarmed by the rise of a fifth column of conflict opportunists, activists, academics, and influencers who dog whistle division under the guise of dissent. And therefore, the Supreme Court says, however, to understand the complexity and for proper appreciation of the language used in the post, we direct DGP Haryana to constitute an SIT comprising 3 IPS officers who do not belong to Haryana or Delhi. SIT shall be headed by Inspector General of Police, and one of the members shall be a woman officer, unquote. Now, as pointed out, Mehboobabaad is not alone, viewers. The larger anti-Modi ecosystem that comprises of the Congress party, instead of backing national unity, has cast aspersions on Operation Sindoor, questioning its timing and intent. Is this just dissent, or is it an attempt to breed disaffection? Others will say this is par for the course in a democracy that values freedom of expression. To them I'll say, look at what the Supreme Court has said. Viewers, there is a line that has been drawn between critique and conspiracy. Let me tell you this. The courts have already drawn this line. The Supreme Court, no less. Freedom of expression is not absolute in India and must be exercised responsibly. I'm not saying it. The Supreme Court has said it in its own judgments. State versus Charulata Joshi in 1999 for SCC 65, quote, this case explicitly stated that the constitutional right to freedom of speech, including the freedom of press, is not absolute. And tonight, therefore, we ask the hard questions. Are some using the cover of free speech to stoke ideological insurgency that weakens India from within? Viewers, you remember that Tukre Tukre gang in JNU? What did they say, viewers? They tried to tell Muslims that they're not given justice in this land. And therefore they dog whistled, viewers, balkanization. They said it's okay to split. You're not getting what you deserve. And therefore tonight, viewers, all these years later, that happened in 2016, but that repeats itself, as you know. And therefore I'm asking, has Mehbooba weaponized his academic credentials to further the political interests of the Samajwadi Party to which he belongs? Let's ask some of these questions, and let's be, tonight, viewers, free and fair and frank, most importantly. These are important questions, and we have with us some very eminent voices, experienced panelists. And Dr. Raman, let me begin with you first. Look, if you look at what the Supreme Court has said, it's quite clear. The Supreme Court is inferring that an SIT needs to be ordered to look at the import of these words, because a lot can be said without actually being implied, in a sense that you can dog whistle your way through, use certain words that have multiple meanings, and stoke disaffection amongst a section of the populace to basically sow the seeds of divisiveness. And people like you, sir, and others have been supporting Mr. Mehboobabaad. Now, can you explain why, when the Supreme Court itself has taken such a dim view, even instituting an SIT, sir?
Yes, Rahul, I read the post not once, I read the post multiple times. And I'm till now, maybe, the grasp of the language is better by those who saw insults here. But with our limited knowledge of English, we were unable to find anything that was either anti-women or anti-national in what was said. Now, having said that, with due respect to the Honorable Supreme Court, I fail to understand how 3 police officers would come to a conclusion on whether this. I can understand maybe if they had professors of English, professors of those who could understand the intricacies of the language, to understand the intent and so on, then perhaps something could have come out of it. But how would 3 police officers infer what large sections of this country are unable to, after reading this, whatever the gent posted, and are unable to come to, if you can actually read out the sentences which are insulting to women or insulting or
I'm not on the case of
anti-national.
insult to women. I don't think even the Supreme Court has gone there. Let's
No,
be
no,
honest.
or anti-national.
No, one second. Listen.
Minute.
No, hang on. You're catching
No,
once again the slim edge of the wedge, sir.
It's not the
No,
slim
one
edge of the
second.
wedge.
We're not talking
It
about
is-
women here. We're not talking about misogyny. I don't think this is misogynistic.
No,
in my
Haryana
personal
Commission
opinion.
for
But
Women
I
has
have a
filed the
problem.
case.
No, one second. I have a
Excuse me.
problem. Excuse
Did you
me,
not
sir.
see the lady Haryana Women's Commission?
Sir, did you not
chairperson
ask me
speaking?
certain questions? You just asked me, can you explain? And now you're not letting me explain. Now, if you ask
Yeah,
me
go
to
ahead.
explain, let me just explain.
Go ahead.
You can
Go
then
ahead.
punch holes. There
Yeah.
is no problems. Look, viewers, I don't believe this person should be jailed or anything. I'll be honest with you. I don't believe that we should throw the kitchen sink at him. But certainly, viewers, the court must act as it has. This is not Rahul Shivshankar saying it, this is the Supreme Court saying it. Now, you can quibble about their English command over the language, this, that, the other. It's not 3 police officers, it's justices of the Supreme Court that have examined every word and they've come to a conclusion. They've used 2 or 3 phrases, viewers. They've said, number one, that this man was dog whistling. And I'll tell you why. Because what did General Munir, I don't even want to call him general, so let me just call him Munir of Pakistan. The preface to the attack in Pahalgam was what? That Hindus and Muslims are 2 separate civilizations, nations, which share zero history, 0 traditions. It's like Mars and Venus, viewers, nothing in common. And viewers, the Indian government, through the messaging of deputing 2 lady officers, one a Hindu and a Muslim, was trying to tell Pakistan that here, Muslims in our country, they stand shoulder to shoulder in responding to you, Pakistan, that thinks that Muslims do not need to stand with Hindus at a moment of crisis because you have nothing in common. And this man adds, viewers, a little bit of grist. What does he say? That, you don't even get justice, you're not even treated as equal citizens in India. So all of this is optics. This is what is being implied, sir, at a time of war. This is what the Supreme Court is saying. And I'll quote what the Supreme Court has said in case you missed it. Let me read it out to you because maybe you missed it. And it's up on your screens also, viewers. Yes, everyone has the right to free speech and expression. Supreme Court is not denying you that right. But is it the time to talk about all of this? This country is already going through all this. Monsters came and attacked our people. They didn't come here, viewers, attacking Indians. They came in to attack Hindu Indians. Let's not paper over this. The Supreme Court then goes on to say that we have to be united. Why do this to get cheap popularity on these occasions? It is dog whistling. Dog whistling. You could have used more neutral language. Now, Dr. Aman, this was the import. This is why we had 2 lady officers from 2 different religions.
Yeah.
To shoot this 2-nation theory. And what is this man saying? No, there are 2 nations here. There are 2 sets of laws here. There are 2 types of statuses here. Muslims are second grade. This is a dog whistle. Do you think he should be saying this at this time? What was the need?
Rahul, I would sincerely recommend, and I'm saying it with all seriousness, because since we do not know what is acceptable to be said and what is not acceptable, if the Honorable Supreme Court can say that these are the words that can be used in public discourse, these are the sentences that are permitted, these are the timing when these sentences can be said, and put out maybe a weekly or a monthly kind of a bulletin, so that the public will know, look, there's got to be some consistency, right, in what is permissible and what is not permissible. Why can't a guideline be put out? Why can't the government put out a guideline for all practical purposes? Let them put
Viewers,
out.
As if we don't know our own duties as citizens, that we can be as irresponsible, but we need the guiding hand of the state, a nanny state to tell us how to be responsible. Viewers, then why have a vote? If we are so irresponsible, if we don't want to take responsibility, why have a vote?
The public simply does not know.
Then just let's have a bunch of elites that elect another elite to rule us. Now, hang on, let me bring in.
The post
okay. Now, sir, now, you are chickening out. You are chickening out and hiding behind a facade.
What
this
is
is
there
the
which is
basic
anti-national?
problem.
Answer me.
Hang on.
What
Okay.
is anti-national? Please tell
Anti-national.
me.
And I'll tell
What
you,
is
sir,
anti-national
when
is what
somebody
he
is
said.
standing up and instigating a community at a
Who is he
time when
instigating?
it is
Where did he
important.
instigate?
Do you know, viewers, and I want to bring in Kanchan Gupta, he's a senior advisor to the INB ministry, no less. So he's the right person to have on this debate. Now, viewers, remember, and you have to ask yourselves this, because Hindus, viewers, don't think in terms of us and them. And you have to congratulate a billion Hindus, viewers, a billion at the very least Hindus, for not rising up in anger as to what happened in Pahalgam. Even the Americans, the Christians in America, viewers, the Jews in America targeted Sikhs and Muslims after 9/11. Here we never had this. Because we do not believe in the two-nation theory. Pakistan does. And that's precisely what Modi was trying to do by putting these two individuals. And this is exactly what is being undermined. Anyhow, I don't want to take anyone's thunder, steal anyone's thunder. Kanchan Gupta, please respond to Dr. Raman, who says, hang on, there's nothing anti-national. We're getting oversensitive. We have become completely intolerant of any freedom of expression. We are on our way to becoming a dictatorship. That's basically what he's saying.
Who said that?
Well,
Who
you're
said
almost
Don't
saying
put
that,
words
sir,
into
that
my
the state
mouth.
must lay down the laws. Okay,
No,
fine.
I didn't. I
Okay.
stuck to one simple point.
Okay, what is
I'm
anti-national
asking you
about
to
it? What is
explain.
misogynistic about
Tell
it?
me
Kanchan
the
Gupta, please
sentences
respond.
which are anti-national.
Fair enough.
Well, Rahul, you have to you have to get this in context. My understanding of the English language is far different from Dr. Raman's understanding of the English language, and my understanding tends to be closer to that of the Supreme Court of India. I doubt if Dr. Raman has at all read the Facebook post of his or seen it in the context of the situation in which it was written. Number one, he is basically making out that Muslims are oppressed, suppressed, depressed in this country, and it is very wrong to feel these two two women officers, B, one of them a Muslim officer who has reached her rank and status without any obstacle because of her faith. Now, he is unable to digest this fact, and therefore he contradicts it. Number two, Dr. Raman is being supercilious, and when he says the court or the government should define what is permissible and what is not permissible. Dr. Raman in other shows has made a big show of his understanding of the Constitution of India. If he were to read the Constitution of India and Article 19.1 and 19.2, he would know what constitutes a violation of the free speech that is guaranteed by the Constitution. It includes inciting communal violence or communal discord, and it definitely includes creating a law and order situation. And that is what exactly he was doing very slyly. This person was not at all being honest intellectually or otherwise with that post of his. And you have to see it in continuum. You cannot see it in just one isolated post. The Mahmoodabads have a history of hate towards the BJP, towards the Modi government, and towards the Prime Minister, because this government brought in a law that circumvented the Supreme Court, totally misreading the Enemy Properties Act and deciding to hand over the property which the Mahmoodabads left over here when they went off to Pakistan. And then they slyly and very nicely sent back one of their, he sends back one of his sons over here to reclaim the property so that again he can come back and do Ayashi over here. I know this is not a very nice word to use, but basically this is the story of the Mahmoodabads. And he has been slyly pushing the envelope against the government. He's very polite, he's very charming, he pretends to be what he is not. But to say that it was a very innocent Facebook post and therefore it should not be taken notice of is totally misleading. And as I said, my understanding of the English language is closer to that of the Supreme Court's understanding of the English language. If Dr. Raman is unable to accept that understanding, he is welcome to go to court and implead himself as a petitioner on behalf of the person. The last point I wish to make, the government of India did not invoke the Wartime Act. Now, had it invoked the Wartime Act, whatever he has posted would have been constituted as treason. So I have no doubts in my mind about that. Now, there are situations, in a situation where you are fighting an enemy state, where you are fighting transborder terrorism, to come up with these homilies that we don't want war, we don't want innocent people in Pakistan to suffer.
Okay.
I mean, that's his problem. That is not the country's problem. That is not the government of India's problem.
Okay.
He can stuff his homilies for all I care.
Okay. Well, look, there are two extreme views here now. One that stands very firmly with the Supreme Court, and another that suggests that the Supreme Court has overreacted. Okay. Let's bring in some others. Let me bring in two lawyers, and of course, let me also bring in Aarti Tikku, who's a journalist who fiercely defends the right to freedom of expression. I want to first bring in Ishkaran Bhandari. Ishkaran Bhandari, do you believe the court is overstepping, overreacting, becoming oversensitive, getting carried away? Or do you believe it is within the remit to interpret the law that you cannot have an absolute, you have to wield speech with responsibility, especially in a particular context?
Rahul, yes. Rahul, the larger and the bigger question is what is being taught in our universities and who is teaching it. Are our universities becoming breeding grounds of people wanting to go into anti-India activities, breeding grounds of trying to create unrest? That is the question. Of course, in my view, it was not a case of arrest. I don't believe, unless it's a case like Sharjeel Imam, who says take 5 lakh people, throw Malba on the roads, separate chicken's neck from Bharat, which is actionable. Except that I am never in favor of a arrest for a speech. You end up making a person a hero.
Exactly.
But context matters. We are in a war with Pakistan. We know how much information, misinformation is being spread. We know how internal disaffections are incited. And that is why I said a professor in university dealing with impressionable minds, what is being taught, how, and what is very important here is that he's talking about optics and hypocrisy. Optics were not decided by the government. It's the army which decides who will come and who will speak and what they will speak. So are you saying the army was doing optics? Or why at a time of war are you trying to bring in so-called political agendas of mob lynching happens, does not happen, courts see it? All these questions selectively when you're trying to bring in into this time, it is a very clear political agenda. Of course, as I said, you should not be arrested for political agenda, but the questions have to be asked. Also, what is to be seen in cases like this is, while you can say fire, on this debate I can say fire, can you say fire in a cinema hall which is packed with people? Of course not. Context matters. This is an extraordinary context, probably for the first time. And in fact, some people say even in 1971, we did not go this deep into Pakistan. We were in an actual war. And in that time, when you try to say things like this, maybe the police felt the need to do it. They should not have done it. They have probably created a political career out of it. But while we are all discussing this, I do believe what we need to watch out for is who is teaching in our universities and what is being taught in our universities, because that is the real danger.
And also, viewers, the context matters in another sense, because we were responding, India was responding to a very, very underhand, insidious provocation from Pakistan aimed at dividing Hindus and Muslims, sparking tensions between two communities. So if the government is going out of its way to, even for the sake of optics, project unity, people should welcome it, rather than making people like the officer who is a Muslim feel guilty about sharing stage with a Hindu officer or with a state that you are suggesting treats Muslims second grade. Now, what are you sending? The message that is going out to Muslims in the military is, why are you defending this nation where you don't get a fair deal? And that's the problem, viewers. That's the narrow context. And Tausif Khan, let me ask you, Because when the Supreme Court goes after alleged Hindu hate mongers, you laud it. So I have to ask you, the same lobby sang hosannas of the Supreme Court in the Nupur Sharma case. You didn't say, oh, is the Supreme Court well equipped to understand the language, the nuance in the phrases. You didn't question it. You said, wonderful. Nupur Sharma deserves to stew in jail. And if you can, let her also stew in home, because, we will, for added measure, pass a edict against her. That if you come out in public, we'll do what we did to Rushdie. Great. Then freedom of expression was fine. When you stand there in the court of public opinion and say, Sartan se juda, then it's not hate speech. I mean, come on.
Rahul, the night when Pakistan was under attack, when Indian army was teaching Pakistan the lesson of their life, we saw so many misinformation, so many misreporting and exaggeration in all the mainstream media. Was any action taken against them by any police station? Did any police station lodge any FIR? No. So we are in a situation where if any normal person, maybe if you had written a post on your Facebook, I love India, and Haryana police to their own, they would interpret it in their own way, and they would say, oh, it's a coded message to Pakistan, you are the traitor, and they would lodge a case against you and arrest you. That's what exactly it can happen, because they have the power. Police have the power to arrest anybody. Police have the power to lodge an FIR against anyone, because to their understanding, and I love my India is a coded message to Pakistan, because it is to their understanding, to their own interpretation. So 100 minds will interpret any message in 100 ways. Even in courts, if there are 14 courtrooms will interpret one sentence differently in 14 different ways. Today what we saw is Supreme Court passed a very good judgment where bail was granted, because this was not a case where the accused should have been arrested. This was not a case where, to me, I don't think even an FIR should have been lodged. But to maintain the balance, Supreme Court had posted this for further investigation. Supreme Court has set up an SIT to investigate on this. Well, we will see. This case will ultimately be
hang on, Tausif Khan. First you start
that is
with
what
what
will happen
about
to
anyhow,
this case.
someone was raising
there are
their
no
hands.
materials to this.
Yes, Ishkaran Bhandari wants to quickly come in, and I want to bring in Ms. Tikku right after. Yes. Yeah.
Rahul, just a fact. While I love India may not be a problem, but you can't say I love Pakistan or I hate India at this time. That will not be in the context. At other times, you may say it's your freedom of speech to celebrate Pakistan cricket victories, to say I love Pakistan. But in this context, in this narrow time, you will invite police action.
Viewers, we were told as the media on a particular day in the run-up to Operation Sindoor, stop calling Pakistani guests. I never did. I don't believe in giving them a platform, but other channels were. And viewers, they stopped. They stopped giving Pakistanis a platform. Of course, this did not apply somehow strangely to certain digital platforms where Pakistani guests were even spoken to during Operation Sindoor, but that's a different matter. The point is, all bets were off. The government told you that we will, in fact, they even specified that irresponsible statements that undermine national unity, integrity, etc., we will prosecute you. So everyone knew. And I refuse to believe that Mehboobabaad lives in some cocoon. He's a professor, viewers, of political science in one of the nation's leading elite universities, private universities. It's a different matter that certain people say that it's become the JNU for the rich. That's a different matter. I don't care. You can be extreme left, you can be communist in your approach. No problems. If children want to go and study communism, they're most welcome to. No problem. I also don't believe that Mehboobabaad should be arrested. But viewers, someone needs to draw a line. And the Supreme Court has done so. Now, Ms. Tikku, look, as a journalist, you might have a problem with this. But I would like to hear your point of view.
Rahul, well, I am someone
One second,
always...
sir. Let me just get Aarti Tikku into this, and I'll come back to you, sir. Just give me 30 seconds. Yes, yeah, Aarti
Rahul,
Tikku. Yeah.
Rahul, I'm someone who has always defended the right to free speech. I have always stood by people who've been penalized, persecuted for expressing their views on social media or otherwise. And even in this case, whether it was Nupur Sharma or Mahmoodabad, I would say that the jail or the arrest of either Nupur or Mahmoodabad for expressing their views is completely, as a journalist, as an editor, as a free speech advocate, it is unacceptable to me. Having said that, I really think that Mahmoodabad's, since he is a professor of Ashoka University, you rightly pointed out, an elite university, academia, the educated have far greater responsibility of choosing their words very carefully. And that's what the Supreme Court has pointed out today in its judgment. Anybody during a military conflict and a warlike situation, as it is, I would say anybody should not rile up people, should not do any polarization, the kind which Mahmoodabad did. Even, otherwise 365 days a year, I am opposed to this polarized rhetoric. I am opposed to, dividing people between Hindus and Muslims along religious lines.
Yeah.
I have always maintained, I have always
Yeah.
spoken up, I have always maintained that line. So when I see an educated academic pointing out something which is so crass during a warlike situation, making a very polarizing statement which can actually rile up people and bring them to the streets and cause a violent situation. If you remember, our security establishment, our government actually said it very clearly that this whole agenda of terrorists attacking Hindu tourists in Pahalgam, it seems that they want to see rioting in India. But fortunately, as you rightly pointed out, 1 billion Hindus do not believe in it. We do not believe in we do not believe in revenge. We do not believe in revengeful violence. We do not believe in communalism.
Absolutely.
So that's the kind of spirit that the country saw. That's the kind of spirit, in fact, both Muslims and Hindus showed. Common, uneducated,
in fact, I would go a little further. I would congratulate the Modi government for being so inclusive at a time when perhaps the base of the BJP was recoiling at what they saw in Pahalgam. I think it took a lot of guts on the part of the leadership to say, no, actually, even at this point, even in this grave provocation, we're not going to resort to polarization. Kanchan Gupta, final words from you. Kanchan Gupta, if you can hear me, final words from you. Kanchan Gupta, final words from you. 1 second, doctor. I'll come. Just give me 30 seconds. Kanchan Gupta raised his hand. Yes.
No. I just want to put the record straight.
Yeah.
Someone here commented that the government did nothing about the misinformation, this, that, etc. Now, two things over here: during any conflict, any armed conflict anywhere in the world at any point of time in history, there is a certain fog of war, and that is why it is called fog of war.
Yeah.
And you cannot say that there shall be no fog of war. Number one. Number two, the Ministry of Information and Broadcasting worked 24/7, literally in 3 shifts.
To call it out.
And a war room was set up right next to my office, so I know what kind of work was happening over there.
True.
The number of fact checks which was done by the ministry is not funny. I mean, it far surpasses the number of fact checks which have been done in the last.
No, I think that's a misplaced statement.
So to say that the government
that is misplaced. That is
it's
whataboutery,
most
viewers. That was whataboutery. It's a very clever attempt at trying to sort of change the goalpost.
I don't want to take names.
Yeah.
But media organizations have also been served with notices.
That's true.
I don't wish to take note. Mention or names over here.
No, I agree with you. And
the last point which I want to make, I just want to reiterate that this whole thing about taking shelter behind the Constitution is misplaced. India has free speech with reasonable restrictions.
Absolutely.
And what those restrictions are,
And as a
are
professor,
very clearly spelled out in the
no, and
Constitution.
as a professor, you would know them. You are not some
Rahul,
layman.
before we go,
Yes.
one sentence, Rahul.
Yes.
Can you please read out the sentences from Professor Mahmoodabad, which
Look,
you
Dr.
feel
Raman,
are
again,
anti-women
you know,
and
you're
anti-man?
clutching at
I'm
straws.
not clutching
Look,
at
I am
straws.
not.
A
This
man
is not
is
my
in jail
opinion,
for that.
my dear friend. This is the Supreme Court's opinion. If I am now going to put an opinion, I'm going to do it in the form of a question. And here's my question, viewers, and I leave you to ponder this question before we move on to the other story. Are Modi's political opponents waging an ideological insurgency to erode faith, public faith in his regime by resorting to unconstitutional means? Is that what's happening? They've tried everything. They've tried to beat Modi at the hustings. Then they've taken it forward thinking that, okay, if at the hustings we're not successful, then perhaps at the ballot box we'll be successful. Then they've tried to bring him down in courts of law, secure convictions, tarnish his reputation. That hasn't worked. Now they think that the best way to do this is by waging an ideological insurgency to erode public faith in his regime by this constitutional sleight of hand. Now, viewers, I leave you to think about it. I want to move on because there is a very, very serious issue. And Mr. Gupta will stay on with us for that. Very, very serious issue that I have to bring to your notice. Because, you know, we have to call it out for what it is, viewers. And at least today, thankfully, once again, because of the courts, the mask is off. It will be very difficult for Mamata government to deny. But it has been concluded that a leader of Bengal's ruling Trinamool Congress was involved in the violence in Murshidabad that broke out last month. Now, these were anti-Waqf law protests, viewers. And who was targeted? The Hindu community in Murshidabad was targeted. For a very long time, Mamata Banerjee came out and said that, look, no Muslims from Murshidabad area could have done this. They are peace-loving individuals. These are outsiders who have come in from Bangladesh because Bangladesh wants to stoke riots in our country, erode public faith in the institutions of governance, as also pit each other, the Hindus against the Muslims. Now, viewers, all of these have turned out to be elaborate fabrications because the conclusions that have been drawn in a report by a probe committee constituted by the Kolkata High Court are damning. And the panel records that the attacks, which took place during the passage of the Waqf Amendment Bill and sparked a huge political row, were directed at Hindus. And when the beleaguered people called for help, the police also failed to respond. And these are not outsiders, viewers. These are police people of the Mamata regime. And I'm calling it the regime tonight, viewers. You can do what you want. I don't think, viewers, it enjoys much public trust, especially when Hindus in Murshidabad are saying, don't leave us to the mercy of the Bengal police or the district administration. We don't trust it. Can you imagine, viewers, Hindus in their own land making an appeal such as this? What does this report say? This report says that Amirul Islam came, saw which houses were not attacked, and then attackers set them ablaze. TMC leader. The villagers of Betbona telephoned, but the West Bengal police did not respond. The MLA was also present. He saw the vandalism and went away. TMC MLA. The attacks were directed by the local councillor, TMC councillor Mehboob Alam. Mehboob Alam has, of course, come out and said, I wasn't there, blah, blah, blah. The courts are fabricating all of this. The local police was completely inactive and absent. And when houses of people were set ablaze in Murshidabad, miscreants cut off water supply, destroyed the water tanks and submersible pumps, so that, viewers, these poor, hapless victims could not douse the flames. Can you believe it? In Pahalgam, they were singled out for their religion. In Murshidabad, they were singled out for their religion. The report says they burnt all the clothes in the house so women didn't have anything to cover their bodies. 74-year-old Hargobind Das and his son were hacked with an axe. A man waited and kept watch, ensuring that they died because of their wounds. The investigation team comprised members from the National Human Rights Commission, the State Legal Services Authority and Judicial Services. So this was a very, very bipartisan panel. The report was submitted before a division bench of the High Court today, viewers. The panel had visited the villages and spoken to the victims of the violence. Parul Das, wife of Hargobind Das, said, "Mob broke our door, dragged my husband and son out. My husband and son were stabbed in the face and chest. We don't trust the state police. They didn't help. We want a permanent BSF camp in our locality." Swarup Das, nephew of Hargobind Das, started calling the police at 9. This is what he said. They came at 4 p.m. Attackers were masked, couldn't identify them. Hindus are not safe here. No support from Bengal government. The report contradicts the Mamata government and several TMC spokespersons who had blamed outsiders, especially extremists from Bangladesh. They said, quote, and Mamata said this, "The violence was unfortunate. We do not want riots. Some outsiders orchestrated it. But we will expose them and their conspiracy," unquote. Well, viewers, their conspiracy, the TMC's conspiracy, it appears, is being exposed. And viewers, there is another TMC spokesperson who was tom-tomming Mamata Banerjee's expression of benefaction by saying that Bengal Chief Minister Mamata Banerjee has written a deeply personal letter to the people of Murshidabad. Sagrika Ghosh went on to say the BJP has suddenly become aggressive in Bengal and it's trying to divide communities. Don't mistrust and distrust each other. Stay vigilant on rumors and together, let's keep the peace. I remain ever yours, she quotes Mamata Banerjee. The CM signs off, she says. True mass leaders never lose their connect with the people. Viewers, these are the apologists who sit in judgment of Hindus, the BJP, Hindu political parties, associations, organizations, constantly calling them Islamophobic. Viewers, today, none of these so-called human rights activists are speaking up. Neither is the Congress an ally of the TMC, neither the Samajwadi Party, neither is the RJD, all who call themselves secularists, dyed in the flesh wool secularists. So, fundamental questions. Did Mamata find scapegoats to protect the TMC's minority vote bank? That's the question. I want to put it straight across to our panelists tonight, and he remains with us. Mr. Ahmed, Tausif Khan, what do you believe? Isn't this the case? You are protecting your favorite vote bank once again, Mr. Khan?
See, from the very beginning, Mamata Banerjee has maintained that there's a deep conspiracy behind the violence in Murshidabad. 300 people were arrested by Bengal police. Multiple FIRs filed by Bengal police. BJP state leader went to High Court and sought NIA investigation, and High Court refused that. The SIT constituted by the Bengal government has conducted investigation and submitted its report to the High Court.
Bengal government will stand in judgment of its own self. Can I ask you a simple, straightforward question? Who formed this committee?
No, that point was taken.
Who formed this fact-finding committee?
No,
1 second. Who formed this fact-finding committee?
3 people killed during the violence.
Answer the question. Who formed this fact-finding committee?
And yet,
who formed this fact-finding committee? Was it the BJP? No. It was the High Court, viewers. The man was not going to answer you. Because they are conspirators. Let me tell you, the courts are not wrong. This panel is not wrong. There has been a conspiracy. No, sir, you're not answering even a factual question tonight.
What are you afraid of?
Be ashamed.
Why this whole channel is your, whole time is your, you can go on speaking.
Who is ashamed? I'm quoting a report.
Let me have my 30 seconds. No. Let me,
I'm going to expose. To spread another disinformation?
Let me, give me 30 seconds. No.
Okay,
you give me 30 seconds. The report that you are referring to is not a SIT report is not an investigation report or the SIT report conducted by the West Bengal police under the watch of the High Court. The report that you are referring to is yes, definitely constituted by the High Court, and the main consideration was to see the restoration, to see the normalcy, to see that those who have been who left their home can go back to their home. That was the content. That was the. There's no investigative agency involved behind the present report that you're referring to. The report of SIT is not in front of you. It is
this
in court.
man is saying that the
sealed,
SIT constituted by the Mamata government to go into charges against the Mamata government, we must believe. Because you see, Mamata is, viewers, the epitome of honesty. So we must believe her.
And this is not an
it's
NIA
like a kangaroo
report.
court, viewers.
There's no
you judge your own
investigative
case.
agency
Now,
behind
today
this
the
report.
High Court has set up this particular panel. It has gone there. It's a very bipartisan panel. I've even told you the constitution of the panel, viewers. The terms of reference for this to go and find out. Anyhow, let me bring in Mr. Gupta. A quick response, sir. I think you're on mute. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, Rahul, I have another meeting which I have to go to.
Yes.
I will just very quickly present the points which I had thought of making over here. Number one, I think it is disingenuous to say that the West Bengal Police SIT is empowered to investigate and not the committee which was set up by the High Court. The High Court committee was meant to meet the victims and find out from them what happened and what is being done by way of restitution or rehabilitation or by providing them with security. Now, what they have done is they have presented a 12-page or 13-page report in which each and every person they met, that person's statement has been recorded. And at one point, the report says this specifically, that residents of Samserganj, Hijaltola, Shulitola, Digri, these are areas around where the rioting happened, they came masking up their faces. So, when Mamata Banerjee talks about conspiracy, and her spokesman over here also refers to that conspiracy, this is the conspiracy which she is referring to. The conspiracy was entirely that of the TMC. They were prepared for what they were doing. They arranged for people to paint their faces so that they would not be recognized. Number two, the report says local councillor, namely Mehboob Alam, came with the miscreants on 11th April 2025. He has been named, and the councillor is a leading light of the TMC in that area. Can the TMC deny this? So therefore, if there was a conspiracy, and if the Chief Minister is saying, I'm sure there was a conspiracy, the conspiracy was entirely of the TMC. Another point which they make, the MLA is also present on Friday. It's a very categorical statement. The MLA can claim that he was not over there, but the report is very categorical. And he saw the vandalism and went away. He saw what was happening. He saw the targeted attacks on Hindu households.
True.
He saw the households being marked and then attacked, and he went away. So this is again a part of the conspiracy.
It's an indictment.
And then it says a man named Amirul Islam came back to the village and saw which houses were not attacked, and then the miscreants came and set fire to those houses.
Yes.
Now, do you get the contours of the conspiracy?
Completely.
And lastly, they say it is the BSF. Although it is not the remit, since this gentleman wants to talk about remit, it is definitely not the remit of the BSF
to impose
do
law and
policing
order
duty.
Yeah.
All the arrests which were made by the BSF, not by the West Bengal police. The hundreds of FIRs which are being mentioned over here.
Present and
let me make it very clear. These are all FIRs filed against unknown persons. Can you produce even a single FIR which
this is viewers a facsimile of what happened in 1990 in Kashmir? Let me tell you, viewers, there is no other way of looking at it. When the state abandons. Tween Sinha, thank you, Mr. Gupta. I know that you have to go. Thank you very much for putting those points down. I'm going to bring Mr. Tausif Khan back into this, but very quickly, Mr. Tween Sinha, make your points, because Tausif Khan is saying that all of this is a charade. It's a fixed inquiry panel.
Well, Rahul, it is very clear with this report, it is crystal clear that the grave act of internal terrorism which Murshidabad experienced last month was the handiwork of TMC and also facilitated closely by its leaders. You know, Mr. Tausif Khan is saying, so what, this is not the SIT report, but look at the constitution of this committee. It is a far more bipartisan committee. It is a far more credible committee. And look at what Mamata Banerjee was doing while this violence was unfolding. That will also tell you a story. She was making fake promises that, the Waqf Amendment Act will not be implemented in Bengal. Is that possible? Is that legally possible? She was misleading the Muslim community and in turn instigating them further. What was Mahua Moitra doing during that time? She was pleading, she was begging, don't do this to the radical groups. Is that how a state government responds? And this is only an extension of Mamata Banerjee's violence, whether it is Basirhat, whether it is Malda, whether it is South 24 Parganas. All of these need to be relooked in the light of this particular report. In all of these places, we have been specifically saying that violence would not have taken place without the direct involvement of TMC.
It's one too often.
And I'm sure there are Mehboob
it's
Alams.
One too often.
There are Mehboob Alams planted in each of the districts, in each of the blocks where the Mehboob Alams, perform their duties for Mamata Banerjee. But I think, the onus once again.
Tausif Khan, I'm sorry, the mask has fallen. The mask has fallen, and the TMC is looking decidedly anti-Hindu. Mr. Khan, you can do whatever.
I mean, this is a statement you have made, Rahul.
I have not made it.
Of any logic.
Please, the people are making it. They're saying that we don't trust the force.
You just said. You said TMC has no Hindu supporter, right? But majority of the vote comes from Bengali Hindus. Bengali Hindus vote for Trinamool.
Sir, you know why?
Communal divide in Bengal.
Because one of the courts even said...
divide is from Gujarat.
I'll tell you why, sir. Because one of the courts has even ruled...
from Gujarat.
Excuse me.
This is
because
not
one of the courts has even ruled...
There may be political differences. There may be political divide in Bengal. But there is no religious divide. This religious divide has been exported from Gujarat by BJP.
Oh, really? There is no religious divide?
Is given
have you forgotten the statements that were made by... No, have you forgotten the statements that were made by Muslim reactionaries, Islamists, as well as other Maulanas
from Gujarat
about bringing the state to a standstill because Muslim rights were being abrogated? That secondly, most importantly, there will be hell to pay, there will be retribution and vengeance against whom?
Look,
against the Muslims?
More than
or against the Hindus? Oh, come on, one second.
Rahul,
and even the courts, no, I'm sorry, Mr. Khan. Look, enough is enough. Enough is enough. Even the courts have come out and said that there have been instances of political terrorism in Bengal. Because certain people have voted against a particular party, those people have been targeted, or voted for a particular party, they have been targeted. BJP supporters have been targeted. So obviously, if there is an element of fear, terror, people are going to do anything and everything to save their skins. And that's what's happening. So don't make a virtue out of a vote. Please. Yes, Ishkaran Bhandari, I want to ask you a question. Look, this report is in. There have been other reports, other fact-finding. There have been indictments by the courts. All of this has happened. Now the people are making a very baseline demand. And I know it's not the remit of the central forces because law and order is a state subject. But if they're asking for BSF or any other independent force to police them, can it be done under the law?
Rahul, extraordinary times require extraordinary solutions. And let's be very clear, because people have to understand the importance of this committee. High courts appoint a committee when there are competing claims and they do not want to get into the political issue. They want to understand the fact. And the committee members are always subject matter experts who are unbiased, who will give a neutral report to the court so the court can pass further orders. If the state fails in providing security, Article 21, right to life, is sacrosanct. If there are allegations, if there are allegations that the police did not act, and the committee goes into it and it finds the police did not act, or it finds that local leadership was involved in it, then of course it's time for extraordinary measure. There are enough people who say that president's rule should be imposed. There are others who say it is not feasible, it may be difficult to impose it, they may face legal challenges. But of course, we have to provide security. We cannot let a Kashmir happen. The report of
now
the
let me tell
committee
you,
is
viewers,
damning, and I hope people wake up.
Now let me tell you, viewers, let me tell you that the opposition, led by the Congress, the Samajwadi Party, the RJD, were all asking for the resignation of the Manipur Chief Minister, if you remember. Why? Because they said he'd failed on the law and order front and then the minority community had been targeted. Now, viewers, flip it. In Murshidabad, who is a minority? It's a Hindu community. They are being attacked by their neighbors. They've given depositions to a panel. The panel has investigated these and they've come to their conclusion. Are any
Rahul,
of
you are
these so-called
trivializing,
secularists?
You are trivializing the atrocities.
I'm not
that took
trivializing
place in
anything, sir.
Manipur.
I am quoting the
woman
report.
was-
Please stop
no,
this,
the
stop
woman
this,
was
stop
paraded
this.
naked. The woman was paraded naked
Okay.
in Manipur. We saw hundreds of people killed in
viewers,
Manipur.
look.
And you
A
are
crime
trivializing
against
what
humanity is a
happened in
crime.
Manipur. There is
We cannot, we cannot compare the brutality
And
of
you
a
are
crime.
trivializing
These two
that
people
by
were
equating
killed.
it with Murshidabad.
These two people
In
were killed.
Murshidabad,
Are we now
two
going to
Hindu,
compare? No,
one
I'm not going to
Muslim
get into
died.
this.
Why
This
don't
is a
you
completely,
count the
completely
dead bodies?
fatuous logic.
That is your
Are we going to,
That is your
no, hang on.
All the
Mr. Khan, please.
angles these
Mr. Khan, please. Are we going to now hair split over the nature of the injury, the nature of the torture, the nature of the atrocity, the nature of the barbarity, viewers? Are we going to do that? Is that what human lives come to? Think about it.
Just because you have to defend
Viewers, think about it. These people will find a way to not be held responsible at all.
There can be no comparison of the
There can be no comparisons. Viewers, there can be no comparisons because the lives are not equal. You see, Hindu lives don't matter in this country. That's the fundamental, this is exactly what he's saying. I want to move on, viewers, because there is another very important story and it has caught the complete attention of the nation of Pakistan. Even the Lashkar-e-Toiba is in a state of shock. One of its co-founders is lying critically hurt in a hospital. He's at death's door and the terrorist group is calling the event a crisis on Telegram channels, viewers. Though in its public discourse, it is claiming that Hafiz Saeed's close aide, Amir Hamza, that man in the center of your screens, who has huge patches of blood on his kurta, had an accident and fell in his home. It's quite clear from the pictures, viewers, and we've had to blur them, that there's something more to this than meets the eye. Now, Amir Hamza, viewers, is hospitalized in Lahore following injuries sustained at his residence. Amir Hamza is an active terrorist involved in operations in India in early 2000s. Abu Saifullah, a Lashkar terrorist and recruiter, was shot dead by unidentified gunmen in Sindh just about 2 or 3 days back. Amir Hamza and Abu Saifullah carried out the 2005 attack on the IIS, the Indian Institute of Science in Bengaluru. In 2002, Hamza authored the Lashkar's ideological guidebook Kafila, Dawat or Shahadat, which became really the ideological template for the Lashkar-e-Toiba. Amir Hamza has been listed by the US Treasury Department as a sanctioned terrorist. Now, Hamza is by sheer coincidence just the latest in a list of dozens of terrorists that have met a violent end in Pakistan over the past 3 years. No one knows who are the unknown gunmen who killed them. I'm talking about Razaullah Nizamani Khalid, mastermind of the 2006 attack on the RSS headquarters, killed by 3 gunmen in Pakistan. That's him. Abu Kalal or Abu Qatal, Lashkar-e-Toiba's most wanted terrorist involved in attacks in Jammu and Kashmir, killed in Jhelum, Pakistan. Khwaja Shahid, mastermind of the 2018 attack on Indian Army camp in Sunjwan, Jammu and Kashmir, killed by unidentified assailants. Dawood Malik, a close aide of Maulana Masood Azhar, involved in anti-India activities, shot dead in North Waziristan. Shahid Latif, another LET JEM terrorist, the mastermind behind the 2016 Pathankot terror attack, was killed in Sialkot, Pakistan. It's a curious pattern. Terrorists wanted by India, masters of mayhem, architects of carnage, are dropping dead like flies at the hands of so-called unknown gunmen. From Rawalpindi to Karachi, These ghosts strike with precision, leaving bodies and questions in their wake. While Pakistan plays dumb, people like Munir look the other way. Supposed guardians of their territorial integrity, the word on the street is that this could be India's covert hand reclaiming retribution one bullet at a time. Of course, this is preposterous. India doesn't carry out illegal cross-border transgressions. But nevertheless, we Indians have a debt, viewers, to repay the unknown gunmen. May they live long and may they eliminate these dastardly criminals, these terrorists, these Islamist supremacists. I'll leave it at that, viewers, tonight.
This is News 18 Network. India's largest news network.
Jai Hind. Thank you for your time.
Namaste, Jai Hind. Thank you for having me, Anand.
So how do we deal with this? Now, this is the input coming through. The Kartarpur Sahib corridor is a matter of religious pilgrimage. We can't go back and alter history, because had that line been just 1.5 kilometers on the other side, we wouldn't have had this problem also. But now we are faced with this issue. And in the recent spurt of the number of people who are now being unearthed as part of the spy ring cultivated by the ISI, this becomes concerning.
Anand, yeah, it's a very good point, but I would like to add that this corridor was opened on 9th of November 2019. But the spy rings were working before that also.
Ji.
Secondly, you will find that since having knowledge of law and order, intelligence, and having worked in various fields of the state police as an IPS officer, I know that such places are for mutual exchange of intelligence. It is not that it is always a negative point for us. Our intelligence agencies, whether it is RAW, IB, state counterintelligence agencies, it's like a place. For example, if you look at Red Cross, or you will find that all these places are good breeding grounds, but it can be beneficial both ways. So I don't want to go into those details.
Right.
But just imagine that since November 2019, around 4,14,435 people have visited this Gurdwara Sahib, Kartarpur Sahib. Out of that, maybe 10, 20, you will find that we can say that, not that I only know about 2 people which have been identified, including Jyoti Malhotra and one from Haryana and maybe one from Punjab. The percentage of such people is very low. I also want to add one more thing, that Jyoti Malhotra only once went to Kartarpur Sahib, but twice she went to Pakistan via Atari border.
Yeah.
So this exchange of visitors is okay, but at the same time, I don't want to deny that whether it is on this side or that side of the border, we need to be very alert on these issues. And now in present day world, when we have like social media platforms, we have Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, LinkedIn, it is very easy for our intelligence agencies also to monitor as to what the other person is doing. And I feel that it is like, for example, if there is 40,000 people sitting in one stadium,
right,
and they all have mobile phones, for intelligence agencies of ours, as we are very technically advanced, no doubt about that,
right,
and I have seen how we work, it's not difficult for us to identify who are the black sheeps or who are working for the foreign this thing. Now these have been identified. I think they have been located, pinpointed, because I feel that during Operation Sindoor, our intelligence agencies, they worked proactively and they could identify these. So therefore, what we need to do is that instead of causing obstructions, because I know there are elements on both sides of the nation who don't want to eliminate the political credit which somebody can drive on other side or this side. because it's a very important religious place where Guru Nanak Sahib stayed for 18 years of the last. He came there in 1429 and he left this world in 1539, 1521. So 18 years he stayed there and he spread the message of Kirti Karna, Naam Japna and Van Shakna. And at the time of his passing away, both the sides, Muslims and Sikhs, both wanted that he is their teacher or God or Guru. So they both wanted to cremate as per their rites. So you imagine that is the place where there are about 15 feet apart two burial places, one by Sikh rites and other by Muslim rites. And they are very near to each other. But at the same time, coming back to the internal security issues and intelligence agents or spies which can be incorporated, it is typically a both-way exchange. But at the same time, what we need to do is we need to activate our proactively be active so that we identify. Because Anand, I would like to add one more thing before your other panelists come, that out of 5,936 people who applied, 4,14,435 is please.
Hello, Namaskar. This is First Post and you're watching Vantage with me, Palki Sharma. In the past few weeks, we've discussed the India-Pakistan conflict in detail. We've talked about nuclear blackmail. We've talked about counter-terrorism. We've discussed innovation and precision, the need for homemade weapons, and the example that India set by showing restraint and avoiding civilian targets. There were a lot of takeaways for the world. But Donald Trump is different. First, he claimed credit for stopping the fighting, and now he wants to protect American skies with what he calls the Golden Dome. This is basically Star Wars starring Donald Trump. We'll tell you what the plan is and if it has better chances of succeeding than Trump's wall, which he started building 8 years ago and is yet to finish. Closer home, China is dangling